All right, everyone. I wanted to make this video about repairing your credit scores and how to do it and how to go about it. I posted on a group today that I'm part of in a veterans group about how I did it and how my wife and I kind of fixed our credit over the last couple months. And I wanted to just kind of help everybody because I had about probably 50 or 60 people reach out to me to try and get the information. So I figured this would be the best way. Instead of answering everybody individually, I can kind of get into a little more detail this way in a video. So I'm going to start by saying I'm not a finance professional or a business professional, or this is just how we did it and how we went about it and the process that we took that really helped us out. And we had to learn the hard way, and there's one person in particular that kind of sat down with us and showed us the way, but really it was a lot of learning, and now I'd like to pass that on instead of you guys paying hundreds of dollars a month to some agency to tell you the exact same thing. So again, I'm not a professional. This is just what I did, my personal experience, things we've told our friends to do, and things that helped them out. So I'll start with that. Second, ignore our boxes. We just moved into this house. This is our office, so ignore the clutter everywhere. We're still trying to get unpacked with all that. So the first thing we did was, and I'll give you a little background. My wife and I are both in the military. A lot of it was she had great credit. I did not. A lot of it was, I did 2 deployments and, gone for 4 months. At one point, I missed a couple car payments. I paid it when I got caught up. We kind of just thought that if we were paying our bills, everything was on time, everything was kept up with, that your credit would just skyrocket. And that's not the case at all. That's, what we came to find out. So we went on this house hunting search, and we were trying to get pre-qualified. Nobody was giving us the time of day, but nobody would sit down and tell us how to fix it. So we kind of just took matters into our own hands until we stumbled across a friend of mine, and he kind of sat down and was like, listen, do this, which is what I'm going to lay out to you guys, and you'll be pretty set. And it did. It worked. I went from I had about a 530, 550 to right at like 700, 705 in 2 or 3 months. And that's not a joke. That's dead serious. I posted on my Instagram a picture of my credit score, 3 weeks prior, and then 3 weeks later it was like a 697. So, in 3 weeks it jumped like 150 points. So it's very easy to do. It's just the steps along the way nobody really laid out for us. So I want to give that information back if I can. So the first and foremost thing we did was I went and paid to get my credit score report. It's like $20 a month. You can go to TransUnion or Equifax or Experian, pay to get your credit report, print it out, and go over it with a fine-tooth comb. That's the first thing I did. It's like $20 a month. I paid like 2-3 months worth. It was like $60. But honestly, it was like the best $60 I spent, because there was stuff on there that I had no idea about. And you'll get a letter in the mail for a billio or something, but some of this stuff just sits on there from years ago that you'll forget about or didn't know about. Or I had a medical bill from when I was in the Marine Corps and had TRICARE, and I was assuming that it was paid for, which it was, but the billing department got messed up, so they put it on my credit because TRICARE didn't take care of it in time. And once they did take care of it, nobody submitted anything to the credit agency to have it taken off, which I'll get to later on. So first thing, go to one of these companies, get your credit report, sit down and look at it, go over everything that makes sense. And that's the biggest key, is seeing what's on there, seeing what you can fix, and seeing what you can improve. The best thing, I did it through TransUnion. So I can't speak on the others because I didn't use those, but through TransUnion, you can pay like $5 or $6 extra and get all 3 of the reports, which is also key, because my credit score on TransUnion was different than my credit score on Equifax and then Experian. They were all different. So depending on who reports to what agency, certain things fluctuate. So take the extra $5 or $6, get all three of them, look at all three so you can dispute anything that's on there. And so that's the first thing we did. Second thing we did was we had a credit card each, and we had one like personal loan, I think. So with the credit cards, what I was under the impression, and I'm still young. I was naive at the time. I thought, hey, as long as I'm making the payment on it, my credit score should be good, right? Well, nobody told me that it had to be under 30, 20, 10%. Each thing's a little different. We went down to the 10% range to make sure everything was, good. So let's say you have a credit card limit at $1,000. 10% of that would be $100. So, we paid down to the 10% mark on one of our credit cards. My wife paid down to the 20% mark on hers. And just from that alone, paying those down, our credit score jumped, probably 60, 70 points. That was like the most significant boost. And that happened, we paid it, and then probably 3 to 5 days later, my credit score was, 60, 70 points higher, which was insane. I didn't know that just paying that down would do that big of a difference, but it's things that you don't think about when you're, just swipe it, pay it off at the, or pay the monthly payment or whatever it may be. On that note, do not pay it off, because when you pay it off, they don't like to see that. They want you to have some sort of revolving credit, on there to where you're using it and then making a payment and using it and making a payment. So keep it. I personally, we did 10%. You guys can do 30 or 20 or look into it however you want. Start with 30, see if it jumps it up enough. If it goes, then go to 20 and 10. But we just went right to 10 because we had the money, paid it off, or not paid it off, paid it down. And that was that. So I would say, because of what I did personally, go to 10% if you have the money. If not, go to 30 and then save up. But don't pay it off or cancel the account, because they don't like to see that. It'll actually be worse than, being under that 30%. So that was the second thing, was we just paid off our credit cards, or paid them down. Sorry, I keep saying paid off. Paid them down to the 10%. Second thing was we had consolidated some of our loans into one to make one payment instead of 4 or 5 different ones. So that was another big thing. If you have, a personal loan or 3 car loans, or, 2 or 3 personal loans, put it all in one, make one payment. Chances are, if you do that through a bank, they'll give you a little bit of a better interest rate for, a little bit of the higher money, and then you can, pay those off. So we had, I forget what the loan was for, but we had one, we paid it off, and it was set. Another big thing that we did was we had, well, I keep saying we, my wife did not have any of this. It was just me, just being young and dumb. I had a delinquent credit card from like 2000 and I don't even know, 8, 9, something like that. And I was young, I was stupid. I was just like, hey, if I don't pay it, it'll go away. Nobody's ever called me, contacted me, nothing. So stupid, I know. So when I called, it was through Navy Fed. I called them and I said, hey, I have an account with you guys. I want to pay it off. I wanted to get it taken off my credit score and, have that updated. And I owed about $1,900. And, when I talked to them on the phone, the lady was very nice, very understanding. Apparently it happens all the time. So I negotiated on the phone and ended up only paying, it was a $1,900 credit card that I had racked up a bill on. And I ended up paying $700 cash, well, out of my debit card. So right out of my account, right to Navy Fed. They settled it. canceled the account for $700. I didn't have to pay the whole $1,900, only $700. They canceled the account, paid everything off, updated it, sent a letter to the credit agencies, and had everything taken off. And it usually takes about 30 days to update and make sure everything's good, but I think it hit in like a week. So it wasn't, something that was on there forever. So that was another big thing, is you can negotiate these. If you have some delinquent accounts, you can negotiate some of these creditors down to 50 cents on the dollar or 30 cents on the dollar. I was very lucky with getting it down to 700. That's the first thing they offered me, was 700 to pay it off, and I just jumped at it and said, yeah, I probably could have got it lower, but because that was such a big cut from what the actual bill was, I just said, sure, let's do it. So paid that off, paid our credit cards down to 10%. And then once we did those two big things on my credit report, I sat down and I went through, every line of my credit report and, made sure everything was up to date. So delinquent accounts, make sure, you call them, make sure they're taken off. And a lot of this is going to be on you guys, is going to be the legwork, because you can pay these accounts off and you can pay all your stuff down, but to make sure that it gets updated on the credit reports, or, taking off a medical bill, or taking off, certain things that were negative against you, you can pay the accounts off, but most of the time, you need to file a dispute, is what they call it, with the credit agency. So, like, for instance, the medical bill that I had to get stitches when I was home on leave, and they billed TRICARE, but the billing agency got messed up for whatever reason. I don't remember, but they put it negative against me in my credit report. So I had to call the hospital and get a receipt stating that the balance was paid in full. And once I got that receipt, I had to fax the receipt with the balance paid in full to the 3 credit agencies that I listed in the beginning with cover letters. And once that was faxed over to their claims department, again, about 2 weeks, usually everything's handled in about 2-3 weeks. Once that was faxed over, they took it off, and then I reprinted out my credit score report. Once it was taken off and it's updated, it's not on there anymore. So that was nice. But a lot of the legwork is going to be on you guys, which is, when you go to these agencies, which is why, I don't want anybody to go pay anything or any money for anything, is because you can do this on your own. You don't have to pay somebody, $100 or $200 a month to fix your credit score. If you just sit down and make the phone calls and put in the legwork, you can send the messages or make the phone calls, send the faxes, call the places that you have messed up stuff with, pay down, call and negotiate this stuff down. That's what these agencies are going to do. Really. I mean, like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm not, some finance guru. I'm just telling you from my experiences, which I think goes a lot further than, just someone who went to college to do this. But it's very easy to do. It just takes a lot of legwork, spending the time on the phone, spending the time getting all the emails and where you need to go and waiting on hold. It can be a pain in the butt, but the biggest weight that was lifted was once everything was taken care of and done, and we saw the scores jump, and we were like, oh wow, that was pretty easy. So again, it's not hard. It's very, simple. You just have to put in the work. And, nobody told me about the percentage thing when I was younger. Nobody told me, to check your credit score. I mean, it's $20 a month. It sucks. I know, to pay, $20, $40, $60, just to see that and to get a hold of it. But, my wife and I never thought, it was never anything that crossed our mind. We're like, oh, we're making good money, we'll just pay cash for everything and, do this and this. And, it just kind of out of my mind. My credit score was the last thing on my mind until we were like, oh, let's go buy a house. And then, or let's, go buy a car, having the freedom to do those things now with the, having a good credit score is a good feeling. So, it's the best thing I would recommend is starting with getting your credit score, looking at that and seeing what you have. Pay down your credit cards, save the money, take it all out, pretty much at once is what I did, because you can see those big jumps instead of, a little bit at a time. It sucks, but if you bite the bullet for like a month and just save, dump the money into there, you'll see a huge increase all at once. I know a ton of people messaged me today and was like, oh, we're trying to buy houses in the next, 2-3 months. How'd you get your credit score up? It can be done in a short period of time if you put in the work. So pay down your stuff, check your delinquent accounts, negotiate them down. Don't pay the full amount if you have a delinquent account. They'll negotiate it down very easily. Usually they just want a little bit of money. They would rather have some money than none. What else? Let's see. Another big thing is taking and increasing your credit limits. So every 9 months to a year, if you have a credit card, like I said, don't close the account out, but increase the limit for another $500 or $600 every 9 months, or go get a new credit card. Doesn't mean you have to spend a ton of money on it, but if you put $10, $15 on it every 2-3 weeks, and then it gets paid down to that 1 to 10% range, you can certainly do that. So opening new lines of credit, getting your credit limits increased. I actually went and got an auto loan as soon as my credit score went up. And hold on, Jesus bless me. I went and got an auto loan like right when my credit score went up to like a 7 something, and then it jumped even more because I went out and got that line of credit for the amount that the car was. So I even input it in to, they have a credit calculator on the TransUnion app. You can put in if I go to buy a house, how much will my credit go up or down, and we put in the amount of the house. My credit score actually went up like 10 points. So getting lines of credit is going to increase your credit score, as long as you're making those payments. But the credit cards, the big issue is you want to be between that 10 and 30% range, which was the most significant jump. Other things that negatively, are going to affect your credit. If you're house hunting and you are shopping around for mortgage rates, I know a lot of people don't want to do multiple credit inquiries, every week or whatever it may be. But if they see that you made a credit request Monday for a mortgage loan, and Monday night you have another one, and Tuesday you have another one, I think you're allowed up to like 5 or something to be like shopping around without it negatively impacting your score too much. I have because we were looking for houses and getting prices, and I got the car loan, and I had 8 in 1 month, and it took it down 5 points. So not a huge deal, but don't go get an auto loan and then a home loan and then a loan at Best Buy and then a loan at so kind of keep it to one area, multiple things, and for 30 to 60 days till it updates again. But that was another big thing, is keep the amount that you're requesting down on the items you're requesting down. But if you're shopping around for prices, that's fine. Your credit will drop a little bit, but eventually it'll refresh and it'll go up again. So it's very simple to do. Keep positive mindset, I guess. Nobody really wants to talk about their credit score. Some people, it's very embarrassing. It was for me. When I saw my credit score initially, I was like, wow, that is awful. I didn't even want to show my wife. It was that embarrassing. And I was like, I'm the reason that we're not getting a house. It's terrible. I felt like crap. And, that's another reason I wanted to make the video, is because when I posted in the group, I know not everybody wants to post and say, hey, I need help with my credit score. So, not a lot of people want to advertise that. I personally don't care. I'm a very open person. So I will tell you, yes, I had a 530, but now I'm at the 700 range because of the steps that I took. A lot of hard learning, But going through these steps, I waited on hold one night with TransUnion for like an hour and a half trying to get my medical bill taken off, but I was like, this is coming off tonight. So if you are willing to make the phone calls, I had one guy tell me that he doesn't mind harassing people on the phone or credit agencies or whatever. If you're willing to do that, awesome. You'll get far with these companies. Just wait them out pretty much. But I'll recap it. So credit report, print that out, get one. Doesn't matter which agency. I personally use TransUnion. It was super easy to use. Use the desktop version, the laptop version, or the desktop or laptop version. The app on the phone and the mobile version isn't the greatest. It's kind of hard to see everything, so try and use it on a laptop. You can get all three other companies through that one. I had personal success with that one, so that's why I'm using it or suggesting it. Go through that, sit down, do everything, look at it all. Second thing, pay down any credit cards to 10 to 30% range. Third thing, dispute anything negative on your credit report. Send faxes in, receipts, bills, anything that you paid off. Save everything, send everything in. Fourth thing, make all the phone calls, do all the legwork. It's a pain in the butt, but definitely worth it. And you'll save a ton of money rather than going to these agencies, because some of the agencies, they'll say, oh, it's going to take us 6-7 months, or 3 months or 4 months, but it's because they want $100 or $200 every month. They get paid monthly from you. So you can do all the legwork and have it done in 30 days if you really, put in the work, or depending on, how bad it is. Some of you, it might be just as simple as, oh, I just have to pay my credit card down. Nobody told me that. It's not something anybody advertises. So, some people may be very easy to do. Some people might not be. Feel free to send me a message if anybody has any questions about it. I wanted to make the video to be a little more detailed and kind of give a background story of everything instead of messaging each individual person. So again, good luck with everything, guys. I hope everything goes well.